Will Sarah Palin run for president? People have been asking that question ever since the 2008 election when she and John McCain lost to President Obama. Well, now some recent developments are giving her supporters new hope. CBS News correspondent Whit Johnson reports.
In the strongest sign yet of a possible Sarah Palin run at the presidency, this week, filmmaker Stephen Bannon announced a $1 million documentary, The Undefeated, about Palin's term as Alaska's governor.
I will be honored to accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States.
Ever since her meteoric rise on the national political scene, Sarah Palin has fueled speculation.
I would if I believed that that is the right thing to do for our country and for the Palin family. Certainly, I would do so.
Are you going to run for president?
You know, I have not decided what I'm going to do.
After dropping out of the national spotlight earlier this year, Palin strongly suggested a possible run for the nation's highest office in an interview last week.
I want to make sure that America is put back on the right track, and we only do that by defeating Obama in 2012. I have that fire in my belly.
Now come unconfirmed reports Palin is buying a house in Arizona as a launching off point for a national campaign, not far from the home her daughter Bristol purchased last year. Whether the documentary is successful at rebuilding Palin's image remains to be seen, but it premieres in Iowa next month. Whit Johnson, CBS News, Washington.
And joining us this morning from Des Moines, Iowa, is Scott Conroy. He's a political reporter with Real Clear Politics. He had an exclusive sneak peek at that Palin documentary. Good to have you with us this morning.
Great to be here.
As Whit just mentioned, it comes out next month. What is her camp telling you this morning about a possible run?
Well, I mean, this is really the biggest news that we've had in a while about Sarah Palin in terms of her presidential prospects. It suggests strongly that she's been planning something all along. She's been kind of quiet, as you said in that piece, over the last few months, for her at least. But I'm told by several reliable sources that over the next couple of days, we're going to get another major indicator that she's really thinking very seriously about this and is going to start acting more like a candidate.
How big of a piece to that potential candidacy is this film? You've seen it, as we mentioned, obviously coming out in Iowa, coming out in June. Two potential signs there. What's new in it? What will we learn?
Well, I think a lot of people, even Sarah Palin's biggest fans, don't really know anything about her record in Alaska, and that's really what the film focuses on. Her record in Alaska as governor for the first 2.5 years that she was in office, the only 2.5 years, was very impressive for the most part. I mean, she accomplished a lot on oil and gas issues. She really was the kind of maverick that's now become sort of a cliche, but that's what attracted her to the McCain campaign. She had approval ratings that were consistently above 80%. And she accomplished a lot for the state. She was really a transformative governor in a lot of ways. So I think what the movie tries to do is it tries to reintroduce her to people who may have already written her off. You know, she became sort of a firebrand for conservatives in the campaign in 2008 and afterwards. But this is really going to try to recapture her independent streak.
And that's going to be important. We're going to bring in now CBS News political correspondent Jan Crawford. She's in Chicago this morning. Jan, good morning to you. One of the things that's interesting is what that film is doing, but also this is a major thing that Sarah Palin would have to address as a candidate, of course, the fact that she essentially quit her job as governor. What are you hearing rumblings of in terms of how that would be approached if, in fact, she does become a candidate?
Well, I mean, that is the big issue, I think, for people who even supported Sarah Palin, the fact that she quit. I mean, what does that say kind of about her fire in the belly to lead going forward, whether she was able to win the presidency? You know, this really reminds me, though, when we're all looking at these clues, and of course, people since 2008, November 08, after the election, have been wondering, is Sarah Palin going to run for president? So when you start seeing all these clues, it's kind of like those ink blot tests, you know what I'm talking about, Erica, where one person can look at all these dots and see a face, and another person can look at them and see, you know, a vase. So we have all these clues today that, yes, she's going to run. So makes some people think she is, but then I see so many reasons that she will not. For example, she's had this lucrative speaking career. She's really a national figure in the Republican Party, recommending candidates. No signs that she's going to be a candidate herself. She likes that national stage, but no evidence that she's actually stepping in to a campaign to become a presidential candidate. And she does have, as I mentioned, negatives.
Well, how would she affect the field, though, if she does step in, Jen?
Well, she would have an enormous effect on the field because she's enormously popular, and she could immediately jump in. Her name recognition is sky high and rise right to the top of those polls on people who are looking for a exciting, dynamic Republican candidate. But whether or not she could go the distance is an entirely open question. She's also very divisive. Some Republicans have started to turn against her a little bit because she resigned from the governor, and they worry that she's too divisive to beat Barack Obama. And there are other people out there now who may jump in as Sarah Palin has kind of let this play out. And one of those people I think we really have to watch is Michelle Bachmann. She could make a real difference in this race if she gets in.
Scott, is there much concern in the Sarah Palin camp? Are you getting the sense over a possible run by Michelle Bachmann, or is this, actually a team that we could see coming together?
Yeah, I think we have to be careful about some of these narratives that develop inside the Beltway. Over the last couple of months, we've heard a lot about Michelle Bachmann, and it looks pretty clear that she probably is seriously considering a run. But we have to remember, Sarah Palin is someone who single-handedly turned the 2008 campaign on its head. She can draw a crowd of tens of thousands of people whenever and wherever she wants. So, she's been very consistent, I think, since 2008 that she's really considering a presidential run.
Right, I'm going to jump in here because obviously she could draw crowds, and obviously she is a major player on the political scene and has a real impact on politics and talking about important issues. People listen to Sarah Palin, and she has important things to contribute. But Newt Gingrich can draw huge crowds, and most people think he's not going to be elected president either. Michelle Bachmann, and I'm not, saying she's going to be, but she is a serious person. She was a federal tax lawyer. She's got a record of accomplishment. So, don't write her off when we're all looking at Sarah Palin.
There will be plenty more time to discuss this. That's the good news because it's just the beginning of the run-up. Scott Conroy, Jen Crawford, thank you both this morning.
Thanks for having me.